So Grace Under Pressure comes out, and it's like, what is this? And I went to the concert, and they played, I think, 5 or 6 of those songs, and the songs they didn't play were not, were like Losing It, and what's the fourth song? Kid Gloves, I think. So they played all the, the 100100, whatever, and the electronica, and I hated it. You got to keep in mind that the album had only been out for a little while, and I really wasn't into it. And I went to this concert, and back then they had a backup band, so they only played for maybe 75 or 90 minutes. They played maybe 20 songs, and 6 of those were from the new album, and everyone was sitting there going, they didn't play Red Barchetta. They didn't play, Free Will. And all of the hardcore Rush fans were like, wow. And a lot of people jumped off the bus at that point. Now, fortunately, I said, okay, I got to listen to this more carefully because there's something going on. There's got to be something going on. I mean, it's Rush. They're not going to just turn into a Eurotrash band. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and Power Windows came out, and was like, oh wow, I love this. And it was even more synths, but less electronic drums. I hated the electronic drum sound of those damn Simmons drums on Grace Under Pressure. But anyway, at the same time that was happening, I was taking physics, and I learned about the harmonies of string vibrations and the intervals, physical intervals, and things like that. And I also went back and I listened to some classical stuff that my dad had suggested to me. And there's 2 pieces that really stand out. The first one is Mozart's Clarinet Concerto in A, I think. Who cares? Whatever. And at the time he wrote it, the clarinet had just been invented, like within decades or whatever. But the way that he wrote that piece of music, specifically making use of the capabilities of the clarinet, the physical capabilities of a clarinet, the way it's put together, the way it works, the way it makes the sounds, the capabilities that you can do with your fingers playing that instrument, showed an incredible insight into not just composition, but using the instrument to its fullest capacity. And this is what I love about great drummers, is they do the same thing. And there was another piece, Haydn's Trumpet Concerto in E flat, I think. He did the same thing with a 3-valve instrument. He understood, and again, the trumpet had just been, the valved trumpet had just been invented recently when he wrote it. And he didn't know how to play the trumpet, but he realized, well, we can do this on a trumpet. We can't do that on a trombone, or we can't do that on a, clarinet. And so when you listen to this, it's like, wow, this was, not only does it sound good, it's like it's written in the right range for a trumpet, but the way that the rhythmic structure is presented is only good for a trumpet. And so this was a great insight into the way drummers A, set their drums up, B, use the sticks in dozens of different ways in order to get certain sounds. And I started watching drummers to see how they got all these different sounds. And again, it's a very physical instrument. And that really gave me a lot of insight into how to play the drums 6 years, 5 or 6 years before I ever picked up a drumstick. So we'll go on with the 80s. So a few minutes ago, I mentioned this Euro invasion of electronica, poppy music. The only alternative we had was heavy metal, which was kind of invented by Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Metallica. And like as I said a few videos ago, in the 80s, we went to concerts every weekend, basically. I mean, they were cheap. We had nothing else to do, and we were just totally into music. So, we went to see Triumph. Seeing Triumph in 1984 blew my mind. I mean, not only did I like the songs, but they had the best light show of anybody by 10 times. They revolutionized the concert experience in terms of light shows. Now, looking back, of course, it was kind of cheesy, but they had one hell of a show, let me tell you. And I love their music, and it's just a pity, again, a clash between Gil and Rick, split it all up. I actually saw the very last Triumph concert with Rick Emmett at the Kingswood Music Theatre at Canada's Wonderland in Toronto. It was during the day. You don't hold a Triumph concert during the day. I mean, come on. Half the show was the lights. Anyway. So in 1982, the very first concert I ever went to was The Who. Pontiac Silverdome. The Clash opened up. I don't know. In retrospect, okay, I admire The Clash and some of their stuff, but I don't know what the hell they were doing at that show. And they screwed up the sound system, and we had to wait for like an hour and a half for them to fix whatever was wrong. And then Eddie Money comes on, and I was like, wow, this is good stuff. I love Eddie Money, and I'd never even heard of him. And then, of course, The Who came on, and I loved that, and it was a great, great night. But I bought Eddie Money's No Control album, which was the album that he was kind of promoting at the time. And there's some really good drumming on that. Like I said, in those days, everyone was a good musician. It didn't even matter if it was Rat or whatever. I mean, the early 80s hair bands, even those guys were good, I mean, they were good musicians. They sounded good. They could play. And especially the drummers, and it just made me, I gotta get some drums. I gotta get some drums. And I bugged my parents, and I bugged my parents, and I bugged my parents, and I never got through. But in 1983, we went on a family vacation, and we were walking around this carving shop in Bar Harbor, Maine, and they had all manner of carvings. And one thing they had was a pair of drumsticks. They weren't even real drumsticks. They were made out of like pine or something. But they looked exactly like a pair of drumsticks. So I said, can I have those? So I got these drumsticks. I think they were like $3 or something. And for 5 or 6 years, I just played on whatever I could find. A book, my pillow, the mattress. I had no idea any rudiments or anything like that. I just tried to work up a decent single stroke roll. I didn't even know it was called a single stroke roll. I just, like that. So, and I learned to spin the sticks, and I didn't have drums, just one pair of sticks. And I never hit anything that was actually a drum or anything like that, because they would have broken for sure. They were like a pencil, like so light. But, so, as I was going to these concerts, Iron Maiden, watching Clive Burr with when the 666 tour with Judas Priest, and then later Nico with, Power Slave and Never Peace of Mind and Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son, and on and on and on. I was a roadie, not a roadie, a groupie for, not a groupie. That sounds bad. Cut!